Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, this Bitcoin indicator is flipping bullish for the first time in a year. And the last time this happened, we saw a major bull run. And this is happening at the same time as Bitcoin short positions now getting liquidated. But in the short term, the price of Bitcoin is still possibly forming a bearish divergence, while Ethereum is also forming a bearish divergence in the short term and this price pattern. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video. So definitely watch to the end. First of all, just before taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, we need to take a look at the Bitcoin news today, because on Friday, we saw another decent net inflow into the spot Bitcoin ETFs. This time around, it was a net inflow of around $273 million US. So it was actually the worst net inflow for the week, but still a very good net inflow historically speaking, because we actually had a very good week. And so overall this week, because of course the ETFs are closed over the weekends, they're closed for trading. So this week from Monday to Friday in just 5 trading days, we saw a total net inflow over those 5 days of over $2.1 billion US flowing into the Bitcoin ETFs, and an average net inflow of over $425 million US as an average daily net inflow for the spot Bitcoin ETFs this week. And so this was actually one of the best weeks that we've ever seen in the history of the spot Bitcoin ETFs in the US. So of course, this is helping to add more buying pressure, pushing the price of Bitcoin further to the upside, as we saw especially earlier in the week. But once again, over the weekends, the ETFs are not trading, which means we have no new inflows or outflows for the ETFs over the weekend, which means we can see other price action just based on the chart and not necessarily based on the ETF flows. And with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin charts today, on the 4-day time frame, the super trend indicator is technically still sitting in the red, but if we continue the breakout on the other time frames, we'll likely very soon see this indicator flip back into the green. And on smaller time frames, this indicator's likely already flipped back into the green. It's just on the 4-day time frame, it's still currently sitting in the red. But with that being said, if we're zooming out to the weekly Bitcoin chart, looking at the weekly Bitcoin MACD, this is right now, with this latest weekly candle right here, this is right now officially starting to flip back into the green, into the bullish direction. And now, technically speaking, this bullish crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD still needs to be confirmed with at least a weekly candle close. And this next weekly candle close confirms in roughly around a day and a half from now. And the last time we saw a bullish crossover confirm in the weekly Bitcoin MACD was roughly around 1 year ago, last October. And if we're looking at what came next, after we confirmed that bullish crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, the last time we saw this signal confirm that is flashing right now, the last time we saw that happen, if we're measuring out that move over the next few months, from when that signal effectively confirmed to that next major high, we saw a 170% pump in just a few months. And now, obviously, just because we saw a 170% pump the last time this signal confirmed, it does not mean we're going to see the exact same pump this time around. It doesn't mean we're going to see exactly a 170% pump again, but it's likely going to cause more bullish price action. Whether it's a 50% pump, 100% pump, either way, we're likely going to see more bullish price action in the coming months if this signal confirms. And so despite what happens on smaller timeframes in the short term, if we're looking at the larger timeframes, talking about the longer term, what we could be expecting over the coming months or year or so, things are looking very bullish right now based on this signal and many other signals that I've talked about over the last few days. And with that being said, taking a look at the 2-day Bitcoin chart, and obviously another one of those major bullish signals that confirmed around half a week ago, give or take, was this major breakout from this significant descending line of resistance, which was sitting at close to 66,000. And obviously right now we've seen a couple of 2-day candle closes well above this line of resistance. And so at this stage, this is yet another bullish signal, obviously a change in the price structure, because for around half a year, give or take, over half a year, we were seeing a lot of bearish price structure. Clearly, this is bearish price structure previously that we were seeing lower highs and lower lows, but more recently, we've officially reversed that price structure into the bullish direction, starting to see higher lows, higher highs, and a major breakout above significant resistance, which is all bullish price structure on the larger timeframes. But with that being said, it's important to keep expectations realistic. So just because things are looking bullish on the larger timeframes, when we're talking about the longer term trend and momentum, of course, the price is not going to move straight to the upside in a straight line without any pullbacks or anything. Obviously, we're going to see the occasional pullback here and there along the way up. And if we're taking a look at the daily Bitcoin chart, right now the price is still somewhat struggling around this area of resistance in between around 67 to 68,000, give or take. And really, this resistance is slightly above 68,000, around 68.3k, based on this volume profile indicator, and also based on these previous daily candle closes acting as strong resistance at close to 68,000. And so right now, the price is still somewhat struggling at close to 68,000. But obviously, like I've said recently here on the channel, if we see a strong confirmed breakout with daily candle closes well above 68,000, then in that case, obviously, that would be another bullish signal, most likely resulting in a continued pump up towards the all-time high price range in between around 72 to 74,000. So we're likely going to find some resistance close to 72,000, give or take, and a little bit of resistance at around 73,500. Based on previous price action. But with that being said, once we start breaking out above 68,000, there's a very strong chance that in the coming weeks, we'll likely see the price retest all-time high levels. And even if the price continues to struggle here in the short term and possibly sees a slight rejection from 68,000, in that case, we should find a decent amount of support at around 66,000 based on previous resistance here and also here becoming new support. And on top of that, we also have this area of support in between around 64.1k to 64,500. And so overall, the trend and momentum is still looking bullish on the daily time frame and of course on larger time frames here, but it's just important to understand that we're not going to move in a straight line to the upside. So just keep in mind, it's very normal to see the occasional rejection here and there along the way up. So don't necessarily get shaken out if we see a slight little rejection, if the trend and the price structure is still overall looking bullish and we're still remaining above these key levels on the price chart like 66,000. And technically speaking, this breakout for the cup and handle pattern also on the daily Bitcoin chart is still currently active because we're still holding above this neckline, the point of the breakout, which is sitting at just above 66,000, more specifically around 66,500, give or take. So for as long as we're holding above that line, things are still looking bullish on this daily Bitcoin chart right here with a bullish price target at close to $80,000 per Bitcoin. But once again, between now and then, we still have resistance along the way up where the price will likely struggle at. So we're not going to move in a straight line straight towards that level. It's going to take some time. And this pattern right here in this bullish price target would only invalidate if we see a confirmed break back below 66,000, which means daily candle closes confirming below 66,000. So once again, in that case, that would invalidate this pattern and also invalidate this breakout on the 2-day time frame. But for now, we have not seen that, which means overall, things are still looking bullish here on the larger time frames. It's just obviously expect the occasional pullback along the way up. And if we're zooming into the 8-hour time frame, technically speaking, this bullish divergence is still active on the 8-hour Bitcoin chart. But obviously, over the last few days, we have started to enter into overbought territories in the 8-hour Bitcoin RSI, which means we're likely soon going to see a bit of a slowdown in all of this bullish price action. Not necessarily a crash to the downside, but just a slowdown, a loss in bullish momentum in the immediate short term here in order to reset the RSI, which can give us more room to the upside later on. And over the last half a day or so, we've seen a very slight reset from the latest high just in the price and the RSI starting to reset out of those overbought territories. But with that being said, with that recent move to the upside over the last 1 day, give or take, that also further confirmed this bearish divergence on the 3-hour Bitcoin chart with another higher high in the price in the candle closes confirmed and now a lower high actually confirmed in the 3-hour Bitcoin RSI. And so this means we are starting to lose some bullish momentum just in the imminent short term, but this is very normal to see even during a bullish trend because obviously if you've been watching my videos over the last half a week or so, this has been expected. If we're simply looking at the trajectory of the price action, we can see back here, for example, around a week ago, we were a lot more vertical, but more recently we've started to flatten out. But once again, this was to be expected because this is just helping to reset the price oscillators like the RSI, for example, which can ultimately give us more room to the upside later on to continue that bullish trend higher later on, especially on these larger timeframes. And so this is what I mean when I'm saying the price does not move in a straight line to the upside. It's very normal to see these slowdowns here and there during the bullish trend before continuing the bullish trend higher later on. So this is simply what's happening right now. We're seeing a bit of a slowdown, a bit of a cool off in the short term that could last for a few days, maybe over the weekends, considering over the weekend, once again, we don't have those inflows pumping the price from those Bitcoin ETFs because they're closed over the weekend. And so I'll not be surprised if we see a bit of a slowdown, just a slight cool off over the weekend, maybe some sideways price action or a very slight pullback. I don't expect a major crash or anything, but just a bit of a slowdown possibly over the weekend. And then maybe on Monday or Tuesday, as the Bitcoin ETFs fire up again, we're likely going to see a continuation of the bullish trend as a likely scenario, especially if we can finally break out above this key resistance at around 68,000. And so that's overall what I'm expecting in the shorter term and the longer term for the price of Bitcoin. And when it comes to my trading strategy, right now, I'm still currently long on the price of Bitcoin, as I've already been saying for close to a week now, as I was originally longing this bullish divergence from lower prices, which I shared here on the channel back then. And as I've also said over the last few days, if we can actually see a confirmed strong breakout well above 68,000 with daily candle closes above this resistance, in that case, I would potentially look to add to that Bitcoin long position. But for now, I'm still simply long on the price of Bitcoin. And of course, I'm still holding spot Bitcoin in cold storage. And also, even in the worst case scenario, let's just say if we suddenly dump, I don't expect a massive dump, but let's just say if that were to happen, my stop loss for my long position is currently sitting in profit. So even in the worst case scenario, that will just hit my stop loss in profits and close the trade automatically in profits. And I'm also slowly moving the stop loss further and further into profits as the price moves further into profits. So that's essentially securing more and more profits as the price moves up. And on top of that, at some key levels of resistance, for example, at around 72,000, I may take a small amount of profits off the table from that Bitcoin long position in case we see major rejections from these levels of resistance. And so that is my trading strategy right now for the price of Bitcoin here in the short term. And that trade, by the way, I am taking over on Bybit. So if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I take most of my trades over on Bybit. Link down below. And if you use that link to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account, then you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but only if you use that link down below this video. And also, if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here, which is a 500 USDT position airdrop, which basically means it's a $500 trade that you can claim for free, but that's only if you use the link down below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account, and then simply claim the airdrop using that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link down below this video. But for whatever reason, if you cannot access Bybit or if you cannot KYC on Bybit, there's also Bitnex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitnex, which means if you're in the US or the UK, for example, or another country where you might not be able to access Bybit, you can access Bitnex. So I'll also leave a link to Bitnex down below this video. And if you use that link, you can claim a 5.5k deposit bonus. And only if you use that link, you can get an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees on the Bitnex exchange forever. But that's only if you use the link down below this video to make your Bitnex account. And so there's another option out there other than Bybit, one that you can access from the US. Once again, there's Bitnex, links down below if you want to claim those extra bonuses. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, and over the last one day, we took out some of that area of liquidity in between around 68,500 to close to 69,000. So basically, we wiped out some short positions just in the short term here over the last one day. But with that being said, we still have more liquidity to the upside, starting at close to 69,000 and going up towards nearly $70,000. We have a decent area of liquidity in that price range. And we also have more liquidity at around 71,000 to 71,500, give or take. And in terms of liquidity to the downside, we do have some liquidity starting to build in between around 66,500 to 66.1k, and a little bit more liquidity closer towards around 64,500. But overall, the major level of liquidity that is closest to the price of Bitcoin is sitting at roughly around 69.1k to 69.2k. So pay attention to that level, as there's a lot of short positions that could get liquidated if we cross above that level. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, right now we're still seeing that bullish relief in the short term, breaking out above 2,500. So 2,500 should now be acting as support, but we still have significant resistance at around 2.8k, and ultimately we need to see a breakout above 2.8k in order to flip much more bullish again on the larger Ethereum charts. And if we're zooming into the 8-hour time frame, technically speaking, we're still close to overbought territories, but still playing out that previous overbought signal, just slowing down in the short term. And not only that, we also have a bearish divergence with higher highs in the price in the candle closes and lower highs here in the 8-hour Ethereum RSI, which means just in the short term, we are losing some of this bullish momentum. And so we're likely going to see a bit more of a short-term cool-off, maybe over the weekend or so, maybe over the next few days. And when it comes to support and resistance, we still have significant support in this price range in between around 2550 to 2580, and significant resistance in between around 2.7k to 2.8k. So ultimately, just in the imminent short term, we're in a bit of a sideways price range right now, just chopping around sideways in a sideways price range, while we're seeing a bit of a cool off, losing some bullish momentum just in the short term once again, which is resetting the RSI, which can ultimately give us more room to the upside later on. And if we're zooming further into the short term, looking at just this area on the price chart right here on the 3-hour time frame, we can see that the price of ETH is still possibly forming a rising wedge pattern, which statistically is a bearish pattern, because roughly around 2/3 of the time a rising wedge breaks to the downside, and around 1/3 of the time it breaks out to the upside. So it can still break out to the upside, it's just statistically that is the less likely scenario. And on top of this rising wedge also forming, once again we have a bearish divergence here in the short term. And when it comes to support and resistance for this rising wedge, first of all, the support line is currently sitting at around 2620, and the line of resistance for this pattern is currently sitting at just above 2650, around 2650 to 2660. So ultimately, we need to break out above that level in order to head higher, likely into this price range in between 2.7k to 2.8k, which once again, around there, we're likely going to see the price struggle, as that is major resistance. But if we were to see a break below this line of support at around 2620, then in that case we'll likely just return back down towards this area of support and then find some support in that area, once again in between around 2550 to 2580. And so no matter what happens with this rising wedge, whether we break bullish or bearish, either way, we're likely just going to remain within this sideways price range right here for at least the next few days or so. Maybe longer, maybe a week or so, but at least for the next few days, we're likely going to chop around in this sideways price range. And if we're taking a look at Solana on the daily time frame, we're seeing similar price action for Solana as what I just said for Ethereum, essentially just chopping around here in the short term. We saw that previous slight pullback and then a slight bounce, and ultimately we're just kind of staying where we are right now. So seeing relatively neutral price action, chopping around sideways. And as for support and resistance, we still have significant resistance in this price range in between 159 to 163, and significant support down here at around 137 to 142. And we do have a bit of short-term support as well based on this latest local low sitting at around 147 to 148. And based on the candle closes, some support at close to 150. So keep that in mind as well for future reference. And we also have a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern still formed on the daily Solana chart, as you can see right here. But as of right now, this potential inverse head and shoulders pattern, which has formed, has not yet confirmed. It is not active right now, which means this possible bullish price target is not in play, not active, because in order to activate this pattern and activate the bullish price target, we need to see a confirmed breakout with a daily candle close at least above 158, above this neckline, but ideally above around 163 to be more confident that we're really heading up towards this bullish price target. Because once again, even if we break out above 158, we still have strong resistance in between 159 to 163. And so if we see a confirmed breakout at some point in the next few days, maybe in a week from now, that will confirm this inverse head and shoulders pattern. But if we take too long to confirm this pattern, for example, if we just trade sideways or see a slight little pullback over the next few weeks, and then if we eventually break out later on in a couple of weeks from now, at that point, the right shoulder would have taken too long to form and basically be too large compared to the left shoulder, which means we would have no inverse head and shoulders pattern, which means we need to break out at some point in the next week or so in order for this pattern to be valid. And once again, just over the weekend, I expect similar price action for Solana as what I said for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Just a bit of a slowdown in the short term. Not necessarily a major crash, but not necessarily a major pump. Just slow down bullish price action. So less momentum in the short term, mostly sideways price action as a likely scenario over the weekend. And then potentially in the new week, especially with those Bitcoin ETF flows, if they continue flowing in the positive direction, we'll likely see a continuation of the bullish trend in the new week, especially for Bitcoin. And once again, if you want to trade these moves in the price of any crypto, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.